Hi, welcome back in my studio. Today I'm very excited because we started the Joy of Pastels week on Monday. This is my 4 days online drawing workshop where I teach you how to draw this beautiful dog's eye and also a winter landscape and this sweet bunny here in the snow. I show you how to draw that step by step. So if you're a beginner, no worries, you are welcome, no knowledge needed. Or if you would like to improve your drawing skills, then come and join us. You can access only for $10 and you get recordings until February 13th, so 7 days after the workshop ends. It's a community. You can show your artwork, celebrate your results, get feedback, help, tips and tricks, and you will be committed to drawing because you have registered and you will do the work either in the live drawing sessions or in the recordings. So you find the link here above or in the description. I would love to see you there and help you to improve or start drawing animals. And now today I show you here how you can draw your sketch. There are different methods, either do it freehand, use tracing paper, helping lines, a grid, and so on. I show you here how you can do that in different versions. Choose one that works for you, either for your own portraits or for the drawing lessons. Okay, now let's dive in. One method I really like is to print out the reference photo and then I add helping lines here with a ruler on the reference photo. Take a graphite pencil and then I choose here 15 millimeters and make here a line below. You can also make it close to the eye. And then I measure, for example, 2 centimeters upwards and make another line and make so a frame around the eyes on the most important areas. Here, let's do 2 centimeters from the edge rightwards here from the left side and make here one line and then another line, let's say so 3 centimeters on the right of the eye. Then I have here 4 lines and I have then a better orientation to draw the outlines. You can also make, if you would like, a smaller cross in the middle, for example, that you say 1 centimeter and here 1.5, so exactly in the middle, for example. And then we draw with the pastel pencils that grid onto the pastel matte paper. Then take the white pastel pencil. I take here 101, the Pitt pastel pencil, and draw these lines exactly on the drawing paper with pastel, because then you can draw over them. You cannot draw over graphite with pastel. So what's important when you're using lines or a grid, use very little pressure for these lines, that you can erase them with such a kneaded eraser afterwards. You can, if you have wrong lines or if you would like to leave the paper free and don't draw a background, you can remove these lines, or if you have made mistakes. So when you are preparing your sketch, use very little pressure for these lines. Then I do 2 centimeters, and here also 2 centimeters from the left side rightwards, and here we have done 3. You can also measure them so with these little dots and draw one here 3 centimeters, and the middle cross 1 centimeter and 15. You can also measure it so, if you don't have that triangle ruler. I know that's not available in all countries. You can also use a straight one for sure. And then you have here so helping lines. I call them helping lines. And then take, for example, the black, because here we have black outlines. Always draw the lines of your sketch In the colors you see, so for lighter outlines, lighter pencils, for the darker ones. And then you can here have a look inside that lines are here. The outline is going upwards and makes so a bow. Then here you see inside that little rectangle here, the outline of the eye is going in a bow downwards, rightwards. Here I see a little bit of the black line inside. Then you could also measure the distance from here upwards, or do it just with the eyes. You always also can measure here, for example, these are 4 millimeters. Did I do it correct? And measure it with ruler. And then you can see the lower eyelid is here below. Then here I measure the shorter distance with the eye. That's easier than the longer one. You can always also measure this, and then you can here so draw your outlines, and it's easier than doing that freehand. Okay, so you can also here above we have this black upper shadow in the upper eyelid here, and here the eye is going so a little bit above the upper line, and inside you see here we have this inner eye corner, and we also have here this outline. There is a double black line, so have here a good look. And here above there are the eyelashes. Sketch them in a little bit. Here draw the line so rightwards, nearly. I think the printout is a little bit shorter than it should be on my end. Yes, so let's draw here the part not so far until the end. Draw here these fine eyelashes, and then have a look here inside. Where are these lines? Where is the... You could sketch in that with blue too, the outline. For example, where on the blue highlight section here is, sketch in here, so a bit of a circle, and with the black, this reflection we have here, we can sketch that in. And here these little mountains inside the light reflection. Yes, I would not draw too many details. Maybe here these little dots for the highlight with white. And in the inner eye corner, these lines we see here, where it's a bit so fleshy. That upper part is also here a bit broader. Sketch in here, where we use then the flesh colors. You can also fill out darker areas right away with a bit pigment if you feel that is easier. Add here a white line, or maybe here some white little dots to have a better overview. And what I then also suggest is to sketch in the third direction, so that you have a good look at the reference photo and try to see in what direction is the fur going, and sketch it in a bit, not too detailed, but here above where we have the eyebrow, and then that we sketch the hair here, so in a bow rightwards. Here it's going in a bow downwards, just that you have an overview in what direction the fur is growing. So also so below the eye, that you sketch it a little bit in, just with some lines. They don't have to be detailed because we draw an underpainting anyway with a mid-tone then, but that we have here so a bit an idea in what direction the hair is growing. Here upwards to the left upper corner, just sketch it in. And then, yes, then maybe draw a bit more black here above, and then your outlines, your sketch is prepared for the drawing lesson and for the start of drawing. These were helping lines. I show you the next one then. You can also draw a complete grid if you prefer that. So instead of the helping lines that you place 1 centimeter lines over the whole drawing, if you find that easier, or 2 centimeter squares, depending how detailed you would like to have these squares. 2 centimeter is so really a bit small, but if that helps, you can also just make here so little marks. So draw every centimeter a line, or draw every 2 centimeters a line, and then you can use that grid and draw the outlines of your eye or of your subject you draw. So bringing in the lines here over the entire reference photo, and do it on the paper the same way. You can also use the line art drawings for doing that for sure. So I bring in here also the lines with very little pressure. Important, use very little pressure if you would like to draw a grid that you then can overdraw with your next layers, that you then not see the lines in your drawing, in your portrait. So draw here these little squares every centimeter. In that case, I'm showing you that here. You can also use for sure larger squares, and then you can have the look that is then also maybe useful for a larger portrait. We start here in that square with the left eye corner here, and you can then draw what you see here. Use these little squares for drawing in the lines, you know. Here you see how much you have to go downwards. Here measure always these distances. Here the eye is going exactly to the upper edge. And then here you see the line is going then, so here downwards we have here a bit black, or here you see the black part is so in the left lower corner of that square. And so you can use also the grid. You see the black shadow part here is going until that edge of that square. And then here, so a little bit upwards. The black shadow is going here until the upper area. And sketch that in here. So always have a look so inside the little squares, if you find that helpful to have a grid. And here you see inside, here is the black part in the inner eye corner, here on the left of that square. Draw also here a line with a lower line. I have drawn the upper line first. And here inside that, here below in the lower part of that square is the black reflection. Here we have the little mountains, and so you can use the grid for drawing the outlines. Here a bit blue. I find it always helpful to have 2 to 3 colors in the sketch. here these little dots to have a better overview. I like to use more colors. Here sketch in some eyelashes a little bit downwards. Okay, yes, and here the black part in the inner eye corner. And so you can prepare easily, also with help, also with a grid, the outlines of your eye. Black is going here, so downwards. Always have a look on your sketch overall then too. And then I would suggest to use a kneaded eraser and remove the grid a bit around. I don't like it when there are so many lines. They are a little bit distracting. When you then go over with the kneaded eraser, you have it easier to draw then over it, and these lines are then not so dominant that they are distracting you from the view on the eye. Yes, and then also sketch in a little bit the direction of the fur. Here upwards, leftwards. Where is the eyebrow section? Where should the fur go? Here above. Sketch in some lines, so where they should go here, then downwards, rightwards, and below, rightwards here, below the eye. Don't draw too many, as said before, we do the base layer anyways. Just sketch in a little bit the direction. And you have also prepared the sketch with a grid. Another way to do your outlines, to draw your sketch, is to use transfer paper. Here it is Saral, that is one I can recommend, and it is acid free and it is carbon. You can then also erase it and draw over with pastels. Make sure that it is not graphite, okay? Then I have used here the printed line art drawing, so you can also use these for tracing, or the reference photos, so whatever you prefer to use. And then I have here chosen a lighter paper that you see it in the camera better. And then place the transfer paper on your drawing paper, and then put on top your printed reference. And then you can easily then just take that and use also a graphite pencil, a harder one, and draw along these traceable outlines here. Draw along them. Here I have drawn some eyelashes, hairs for you. Draw over them, and then over the outline of the eye. And then you can easily trace here. Make here a circle. Where are these little details in the eye? Here the inner eye corner parts. Draw over them and trace them. The same you can also do directly on the reference photo. Here it's just easier for you because you only have the outlines I have brought here on. I have added here some hairs to sketch in your direction of the fur a bit. That's enough to know in what direction the fur should grow. Yes, and then remove the line art drawing or your reference photo, and voila, you have then traced some outlines. It is so great then with the tracing paper. Maybe you choose then a pastel pencil and go over the outlines again, that you have then a better overview where the darks are here, so that you go over and correct the outlines a bit, or draw again over the darkest parts. Or what I said, I like to use different colors and go in here with the blue a bit and draw along these outlines, always with very little pressure, okay, so that you really use very little pressure for drawing here the outlines. Yes, maybe sketch over the hair direction again a bit. But so you can also use a tracing paper if you have one. And another method that's pretty cool is to put pastel pigment on the back side of your photo or your line art and also trace. I show you how that works. So you take the line art or you take the printed reference picture, and here the same size of pastel matte paper, and then you turn your reference picture around and you take, for example, a Rembrandt soft pastel stick or use a pastel pencil and put pigment on the back side of your paper. So put here the Rembrandt soft pastel stick on the back, either on the line art or on the reference photo, and make sure that there is enough pigment on it. And I don't draw it on over the edges, that I can hold the paper a bit with the finger without tapping too much on it, to avoid that there are then stains of soft pastel pigment on the paper. There you have to be carefully, because it can end up with a bit of a mess. The soft pastel is a bit softer than the pencils, but it is easier to trace when you have a bit more pastel pigment on your paper, on the back side. Then place it really carefully here on top. You will have some stains of pastel pigment, and I just take it here on the edges carefully. And then also go over the lines with the graphite pencil. Here I have chosen the landscape. Go over here, maybe sketch in here a bit, this little bush here. I use a lighter color of pastel on the back, that we can erase also the lines, and don't press too much with the graphite pencil, that you don't push that pigment too much into the paper, that you can erase lines or draw over them afterwards. So then draw over these lines, make them really carefully. Then have you so a bit of an orientation where we want to have here the river banks. So zigzag lines, here the horizontal line, and sketch in a little bit where the trees are, if you would like to prepare the outlines for the landscape. You can also do that one just freehand. Would also be possible for sure. Add here so some outlines of the tree, that we have them a little bit in place, and work them on more details. And then remove the paper, and voila, you have some outlines on your paper. Here you see when you press a little bit too much, we have a lot pastel pigment on the paper. Then I use the kneaded eraser and pick them up. And then you could take a pencil, take for example a green one, and we go over the trees once more, that you see them better if you would like. So here that you see the outlines better, and go again over here over the outlines. You have here now an orientation where the trees should be and go a bit over them again. As said, different colors are always helpful. Or take the black for here for the inner part of the river, that you go in here once more and sketch in along these lines where these darker parts in the river banks are here, for example. That you go in here below with some black lines, or around the snow here. Going here between. That also helps to have here so a better overview. Here the snow should go until the edge. Take a bit time that you have here the outlines then accurate. So when you're drawing the landscape, it can be more a loose style, but very important for the animals that the outlines, the proportions are very correct. Here you can more do it with the free hand, I would say, and practice to do it freehand. Here we could go over this little tree here with the black. Yes. Okay. Then you have here the outlines, and you can then start drawing here the landscape. The same also do for the bunny. Prepare your sketch with a method I've shown you. Here I have the printed reference picture. This is the photo of my drawing, or the line art. So you can also use the line art. And yes, either try to draw these outlines freehand if you want. Use some helping lines. Place a grid on top, or also do it on that, how you prefer it. Or you place tracing paper between them, either below the line art here or below the printed reference photo or reference picture in that case. Or place pastel pigment on the back. You can use that one and trace around. I show you that here for you. Or use the line art, that's also helpful. So place pastel pigment on the back side. Again, I do it here with a Rembrandt soft pastel stick and apply enough pigment, but I don't draw until the edges, that I have a part where I can hold it better. Here where the ears are, it is important. Just make sure that over the whole area of the drawing where you so where the animal is, that you have pigment on top. When you work with the pencils, then add also a lot of pigment that you can trace it. This method works better with the soft pastels. If you have a stick, if not, then just use tracing paper between for tracing. Yes, and then take the paper and then put it here on top carefully. I try that I place it where I want it, that I don't push too much on top. And then take the pencil, the graphite, and then I stretch here, so around the ear. Add here these little outlines. Stretch here around the ear. Here some hairs. I also like to do the outline in little strokes when I have an animal, not a straight line. Most times you have so overlapping fine hairs. Can add here in the inner side a line, and here, and just so draw over all important parts when you're working with the photo or the reference picture. You could also trace here the whiskers and the fine hairs, but it's not necessary because we draw a background anyways. Draw the eyes carefully. Eyes are always important that the proportions are accurate. Where the highlights are. Draw the nose. When you're using these tracing method here, you have all outlines in the same color. Make sure that you don't forget an important part. But you can also then correct that when you have removed here the picture. I draw here so a bit in zigzag line around. Not a straight line in that case. I like to have it more so in a fur style. Here this line where the colors change. That we sketch that in. Or here around the mouth area. And then here where the body is, I also go in with a little up and down strokes. Here the little paws below. Draw around here. And where the fur here ends. And then here where we have these little clumps, they are a bit tricky. Draw around the shapes of the clumps. When you're drawing clumps in the fur, first have a good look at your reference picture. How are they look like? What shapes do you see? And then try to draw them on your paper and draw the outlines here a bit of these little clumps. So here below too, here is a clump. Here we have a zigzag line with some smaller bunches of hairs. Let's sketch them in, or here that one, these little clumps and curls of hair. Okay. We can also sketch, you can also trace this or do that then later freehand. We could also trace here the whiskers, but that does not make a lot of sense because we draw over it anyways and it looks a bit better at the beginning, but you see that, you don't see that. We have to draw then that on top again. We will draw over them. And then remove the paper and you see, voila, you have traced the little bunny in an easy way. But what I've meant here, you can have, when you work with the soft pastel sticks, a bit of a mess on it. Then I try to remove that with a kneaded eraser, but you have to be really carefully that you don't press the picture too much into the portrait. But as we draw a background anyways, that is not such a problem. And then afterwards I would go in a bit with black and add the eyes or draw over some important parts again with a darker color. For example, around the eyes, so that we take a black and draw with the black pencil. Let's take the reference photo again. So around the eyes, that you have a look, here the eyes, let's make them black, then you see them better. Okay, draw around the eyes, the outlines again, and use white and sketch in the highlights right away, these two little dots here, or also the nose, that you have here the black of the nose and the mouth in place. Or put in a bit shadow here, for example, below the face, the head, by plotting in a little bit of the black, moving the black upwards and downwards, for example, or where we have here a darker part in the ear that you use. Here you could also use a brown. Here I have missed to trace around the ears. Do you see that? Let's complete it. Yes, and then you have here a nice overview. Maybe draw over the outlines with a white or an ivory, or I think ivory I have not mentioned in the color list, of a lighter cream, and draw here along where maybe you have missed to trace something. Check it again with your reference picture or with the line art, and make sure you have drawn the lines we need. Yes, and then you can also go here over, sketch in a bit further direction here in the middle or so. Here we have also, let's take a brown and maybe make these lines here brown that are so a bit darker, that you have it then easier when you then build up the layers that I explain you then in the lesson. You can also add, for example, below these clumps shadows right away, like you see on the reference picture, with a darker color or around them, to that you see these clumps better. But I will show you that then also more in the drawing lesson, that you here bring in some dark lines too around the paws or below the paws, for example, between the paws. Then you have a bit of a better overview when you also use darker colors in your sketch right away, where you have darker lines on your reference picture here. So all these darker areas here, that you have a good look and draw them in a second color. You don't see them on the line art, there you only have one, but you can use both, and then add the darker lines when you are working from the reference picture, or just add them after using the line art and add some darker lines. I find that is a little bit helpful for the start. Okay, so I hope this is helpful, that you can prepare your sketch in advance. Okay, so I hope you like that and you can pick one method for yourself that works for you and your drawings. If you are curious about the Joy of Pastels week, if you would like to draw with me together and many other like-minded people from all over the world in a community, click the link here above and get more information how you can register. I would love to see you there and bring your animals to life on paper, or help you to improve your drawing style. Just get started, rediscover your love for art and the magic of pastels. See you there, or see you in the next video. Have a great time. Bye.